Heavy Cardboard, Episode 31, The Trailer Trifecta. Coming to you from the home of the best damn board game podcast, Denver, Colorado. Welcome to Heavy Cardboard, where we talk medium and heavy strategy board games, war games, 18xx, and other related topics in the board gaming hobby. We're your hosts. I'm Edward.
This is Tony.
So we'll start off how to contact us, because God knows we love hearing from you guys. Twitter, at Heavy Cardboard. Facebook, Heavy Cardboard. Email, we love reading your email. Contact at heavycardboard.com. YouTube, Heavy Cardboard Vids. Website, heavycardboard.com. And last and certainly not least, our BGG Guild. It's number 2044. There's lots of chat going on in the guild. Y'all should come check it out.
Agreed.
Finally, hearty thank you for the 2 iTunes reviews that were left for us since the last episode. RWE and Urkid, I think it is. They made my day on the respective days that they were left, so big thank you for that. That was really cool to read, and it just puts more eyes on the show, which in the end only helps you guys, so thanks a lot for that.
Another big thank you as well to Velma and Company at Game Surplus for their wonderful sponsorship of Heavy Cardboard. They are definitely terrific folks with an awesome inventory of games. Give them a check. www.gamesurplus.com is their website. You can reach them at games@gamesurplus.com. Tell them Heavy Cardboard sent you.
And as always, feel free to email them if you don't see something in stock. Likely they'll be able to hunt it down. So thanks a lot to Amos and Velma.
Edward, sir.
Yes?
I'm really looking forward to recording this episode tonight. It's a little bit different. We're doing 3 games, all trailers, no main feature. Was going to be 4.
It was, but we decided to postpone Triumph and Tragedy 1 episode. Reason being is we think that it very well may be a feature, depending on whether or not it gets here in time and whether or not you like the game. But
yeah, I haven't played it yet.
I think it's amazing.
Cool.
So it's either going to be a trailer for next episode or hopefully the feature.
Could be the feature,
next,
sure.
For next episode. So it, like you said, originally was going to be 4. Now it's going to be 3 trailers.
We can start paying off on the promise of our intro where we talk about war games. That one's kind of a war game, right? It's not quite there. It doesn't have to be a war game,
right?
But it's getting towards that.
It's a political game first, block war game second.
Cool.
So there's that.
Right on.
So yeah, I guess we should mention, we're recording this on Wednesday. Normally we record on the Monday before we release on a Thursday. But between my work schedule and the crazy drama going on with your family and stuff,
whoa,
it's been...
Makes it sound like I got all kind of nutbags.
No, so not at all. Medical stuff.
My father-in-law's ill. Yeah.
Right, and so just it's been...
crazy drama.
That's
my sister.
Well... So it's just things have been a bit wonky, I guess is a good way to put it, the last couple of weeks for us. So hopefully this gets out on time and it's good. Hope you guys enjoy it.
Right on.
So how is it? September already?
Yeah, I hear you, dude.
This is nuts. It's the fastest year I remember, but I'm worried that now that I'm 40, they're only going to get faster. So tell me.
Yeah.
I
got 10 on you. They get faster.
That sucks. So, kind of on that whole family drama, but not on your side, on mine, medical-wise. I think I mentioned it before, but Amanda suffers from chronic migraines, and she got her first set of 31 Botox injections last week. They all around her forehead and the base of her neck. That's and crazy. All this crazy, because apparently it really is supposed to work. Well, early returns are that, yeah, it's really working. I mean, she went from... on average, I'd say 20 to 25 headaches and migraines a month to she's had 2 since she's had that. And it's knocked the edge off of them. So that's early cool. Returns are good, and hopefully it's a long-term solution for her because, man, she's been miserable, especially the last 6-7 months or so. It's only gotten worse. So that's cool.
Right on.
On a positive note,
well, that one was positive, too.
Well, yeah, but migraines and all that. But football is back tomorrow or today, because when this releases, it'll be college football at least.
Back next week.
All right, go Ducks in the meantime,
go
all right?
Broncos. Yeah, no, you're a college head.
Oh, I enjoy pro as well,
sure.
But yeah, college starts this week, pro next week, so that just tells me the cooler weather is coming.
Yeah.
And, man... like we've said it before, fall in Colorado is amazing.
No, it isn't.
Wait. No, we like these people.
Oh,
Remember,
true.
we
All right.
want them to come play games with us.
Please move here.
So that Xbox One I mentioned last episode?
Yeah.
Yeah, still in the box. Haven't gotten to it.
That's the box part.
Yeah, right. BGG Con game lists and preparations have begun, so I'm really, really excited about that. However,
Yeah.
there's one significant, unfortunate piece of news. You want to tell them?
My mommy said I can't go. Actually, it was my dad. But, I don't have a ticket. I got hotel reservations and no ticket. I heard tickets might be scarce. Folks are on my ass to go to Little Rock, so I'm going to Little Rock.
Hopefully,
Maybe.
2016. Hopefully, 2016. Both of us will be there. So, I don't know who's honestly. I don't know who's more bummed about it, me or you. Probably you, but it's
Yeah.
I'm bummed, dude. I'm
am
really
too.
genuinely bummed about that. So, enough of the, pity party for us.
Pity party.
Positive news. Splatter, they've opened
First
up
world
pre-orders. They've opened up pre-orders for Food Chain Magnate.
FCM. Dude, I love that box.
It's gorgeous.
Did you
isn't
read
it?
the little text at the bottom?
I did.
It's just killer.
It's really very retro, very just
yeah.
awesome. So
yeah.
they did well. Still not a fan of the name, but the artwork looks cool.
Long as I get to be a fan of the game.
I hear you. For those that live in the EU and have wanted a copy of Three Kingdoms Redux,
Yeah, this is great news.
our friends over at Starting Player have offered up a group order. So check the show notes for the link to that. I've mentioned it on Twitter, but yeah, it'll be in the show notes. So take a look at that. It's over on BGG. Something like they have to get a group of at least 100 orders, but everybody across the entire EU counts as one order. So there's that.
It's a terrific game. We've covered it. Go back in the archives.
November?
Go back in the archives
Yeah.
and check it out if you need some convincing.
Yeah, it's for me, it was the runner-up for Game of the Year last year.
Fantastic.
Yeah, really good. So to pay for all the Essen games that we plan on getting, and honestly to make room for them, we're having a massive auction of games over on BGG. We'll also link it in the show notes. Take a look if you're so inclined. I think I counted, I have upwards of 40 games I'm putting in. You're putting in...
I have my list here I'll give you before I leave, and it's probably around 40 or so as well.
Okay, so yeah, it's
something
going
to that effect.
to be a massive list, so hopefully you guys find something you like. And big weekend of gaming coming up, maybe.
Yeah, depending on the father-in-law
Which
thing.
this just came
I may get to
up
play
today.
0 to 2 days this weekend.
Right, and I'll planning on doing all 4 unless you need me for something. Then
Thank you.
Drop it at the drop of a hat. I'll be there. You know that.
I do.
Let's see what else. Preliminary plans are starting to come together for HeavyCon 2016. Yay! And wait, already? Seriously? I ask again. Where's 2015 gone, man? This has been nuts.
As long as it goes.
All right, last thing.
All right.
I finally found, thanks to Ryan, or his name's Tricky Blue Mage over on Twitter. He's from the Cardboard Republic. He kind of walked me through how to change the settings on our RSS feed so that the description doesn't cut off, so that it gets everything on there when you guys go and download it and stuff. So if that's not fixed, let us know. Otherwise, yay. Sorry it took so long to figure that out. But yeah, hopefully that people start or stop complaining to us about that. So sorry about that. All right, sir. So have you acquired anything at all since our last episode?
I have acquired 2 things.
Okay.
A big one and a little one.
I know what the big one is.
Big
I
one?
don't know what the little one is.
The little one is Praetor. So today, before all the medical stuff happened, I went to my local LGS just to get out of the office. You know, it's been a hell of a week, even though it's been a half of a week, right?
Right.
And on their used shelf, they had Praetor there for $29 in fantastic shape. So I'm like, all right. The wife said she likes it and would like a copy, so I got her the copy of Praetor.
Because you asked if I had a copy and could you borrow
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
Which we'll talk about it more here in a little bit. But
I don't get to watch videos at work. I get to listen to videos while I'm typing and such. And so I was listening to Rado run through it, and I was like, oh, this might be kind of interesting. Borrowed your copy. Played it a couple times. Really dug it.
cool. I'm excited because that means it's one less game I have to learn.
Yeah, it's fun worker placement.
Cool. Wait, if we get gaming in this weekend with you, then
Yes.
maybe get that played.
You bet. You bet.
Cool.
We will allow Robin to beat us.
And that is so true. She is a master
thought I
of a
had her.
certain range of weight of game
Yeah,
that she just can't be beat.
It's wacky.
Yeah.
And I got 1831,
Right.
which is, a monster 18xx game. It's like, for those of you old enough to know what a phone book is, imagine two of them stacked together. And that's how big the box is. It's massive.
So is it kind of like 18OE size or a little bit smaller than
It's not as tall.
Okay. But it's bigger,
It's
right?
close like that. Yeah, it's
Okay.
giant like that. And there's a lot of neat stuff. I think to me, it looks like it combines some of the trackling is very, very important, but it also has some of the financial trickery, like something like 1817 has. So that's what has me interested in there, like multiple size companies and variable start size on the companies too, preferred stock, common stock, mergers, rail yards as well as stations, so different kinds of trains and hostile takeovers and double track.
Yeah, that double track, that like just look cool. I've never seen that.
Me
in any
neither.
game,
Yeah.
So that's cool.
Lots of things to try. How about you?
Well,
Yeah.
one last thing on
Yes.
1831 is the original printing of that only had 26 copies ever made.
Oh, yeah.
By the designer.
Like Carl handmade them or something.
Yeah,
is
and they
what I
were
read.
labeled A through Z.
Right.
Well, an old friend of ours, Chuck, his dad was one of the originators of the Puff and Billy.
Right.
He actually has one of those original
Oh, no way.
26 copies, so that's pretty cool. I'm excited
That's
that
awesome.
they're reprinting this so that the rest of us peons can get copies.
It's $250 plus freight.
And by us,
It
I mean
sucks
you.
to buy that.
I just hope it's worth it, because if it's good, then we'll play it. I'm curious.
Yeah.
Do you know if it has any like smaller scenarios like OE has? To where it's not just a once or twice a year event type game or anything?
What's crazy is the gameplay is 10, but it's
Which is mind-boggling
yeah. I
to
don't.
me.
The write up says that really, if you're playing 10, you're gonna. Some people are just investors, really.
Which kind of is exciting, but
It
might be a
is.
little. Hey, they can play another game in between turns.
But the game scales. So there's if you're playing with 3 players, you use this many companies. You're playing with 5, you use this many companies.
Okay,
So
all
it's
right.
kind of a scaling aspect built in.
Okay, cool.
I only stickered enough for 5 or less. Jesus, man, that took forever.
That's awesome.
What have you acquired, buddy?
It's funny, when I was going through and doing all my prep for the show, I asked Amanda, I came out of my office, I was like, hey babe, did we get anything this episode? And she's like, no, I don't think so. And I was like, damn it, yeah, there was. It was a math trade.
Oh,
We got our copy of Masters of Venice. Ironically, we actually had matched up with one of our listeners. So thanks a lot, Tater, for Masters of Venice.
Right
It's
on.
in good shape. So thanks.
Cool
Appreciate
game.
it. That's the only thing I've acquired was the math trade.
it's
That's
funny.
it.
When I was doing my prep, I said to my wife, did I buy anything besides 1831? And she's like, I don't think so.
Right.
So, it's too funny.
But yeah, it's funny with the auction stuff. There's so many holes now over here.
Dude,
that
yeah.
I'm so excited. Like, there's room, and Amanda's excited that shelf over there
Clear
that
that
normally
off.
is super cluttered will be cleared off in time for the weekend. So yay!
Yeah, I moved all the auction games to another shelf, man. So it's kind of weird.
Yeah, it's nice having room.
What are you hunting? You got to fill this room, right?
Obviously. Well, I mean, there's the SN list, yeah. But honestly, there's really only 2 things, and both are ordered, but they're not here yet. Churchill and Triumph and Tragedy, both from GMT. And I can't remember if I mentioned it last episode or not, but they're honoring the pre-order.
Yeah, you did.
Okay.
Yeah.
So those are going to be here. I'm hoping by the weekend so we can maybe get a game of Triumph and Tragedy in, which would be fantastic.
Nothing would throw me more in multiple ways.
Cool. All right. So, how about you? Anything hunting, anticipating, shopping list, etc.?
Well, there's most of my wants are waiting for the SN titles and stuff like that. Paul Chad, though, sent me an email the other day saying that all the board games will soon be printing 1849 in Sicily, which is supposed to be a very tight money game, which sounds pretty intriguing. Plus, my heritage is Sicilian, so
Which explains a whole lot. It really
yes,
does.
Anthony Palmisano was my real name before
Really?
before my mom remarried and everything.
Really?
Yeah, Anthony Palmisano. So,
Dude, that's like
I'm
Italian.
a paisan, man.
Wow.
And I'll be looking forward to that. Number one, because it's in Sicily, and maybe number one because the money's tight, and number two because it's in Sicily.
Cool. All right.
We've played a lot of games together. Why don't you want to run through some games that we've played together, and then talk about ones you played without me?
Yeah,
and
sure.
then I'll talk about ones I played without you.
All right.
All right.
So we obviously Forge War, B&O, and the Networks, the three trailers for this episode.
Yes.
We played those numerous times. Argent, you and I together only played like a 2-player partial learning
game to learn.
And then I played it last weekend.
That's the one I'm jonesing to play this weekend.
Dude, way better than I anticipated.
It sure, that little partial game sure felt good.
It really is. There are some critiques. We're gonna review it. I'll tell you. I'll probably just make this command decision. If we don't do Triumph and Tragedy as a feature next episode, it'll probably be Argent. If we do Triumph and Tragedy, the following one will probably be Argent.
All right.
Really, really good. I hate to admit that I played it, but Helios 2. I don't know if I'm okay with you putting that in the auction. I really why?
What would you rate that game on our 1 to 6?
I would rate it a 1.
What do you always say about rating ones?
Burn it with fire. Damn you if you pawn that off on anyone else.
Well, it was free, and I've played it, and it will be in the auction at a very low price.
He may pay you to take it.
No, there's people that will like it, and that's totally cool.
No, the funny thing is after we played it, I went and read some of the comments that were left for the game, and there were people that rate this thing 9 and 10, and I'm like, no.
It's different strokes for different folks.
Right,
that's all,
I guess, and I'm not saying it was a 1 because of the fact that it's not my type of game. It just,
there was nothing there.
There was nothing
for us,
right?
For us. When we played it here, and the wife and I had played it 2-player a couple of times,
and then you brought it over
Right.
so the two of you and Amanda and I could play it.
in the car on the way home, Robin says, "That game sucked with 4 players. It was a lot better with 2."
So maybe it's a 2-player game. Maybe in that respect.
No.
All right. So the other stuff, Triumph and Tragedy, I played. We had dueling Triumph and Tragedy games over here last Sunday. Both 3-player, both were amazingly good. We'll get into that more in the next episode. Played Trombone again, and I taught Amanda, and we both had the same feeling that, if we had our druthers, just play Arboretum. If I didn't have Arboretum, sure, I'd play it, but I was underwhelmed by it because I much prefer a game like Arboretum to that. And last but not least, Airlines Europe, which I've played a number of times previously, but we played it again as the last game at our game day last weekend. And as we were playing it, I was like, man, this is really an enjoyable game.
It is.
So we've decided we're going to, in the auction, unload Ticket to Ride and pick up...
Wait, you have Ticket to Ride?
Well, we had it for kind of whenever we have friends that aren't gamers come over to try and introduce them. But we talked about it.
Wait, it's not right out in the open, is it?
It was, but it's now in the auction pile.
Okay.
Anyway.
We don't want people getting the wrong idea over here.
So we decided we're going to try and get a copy of Airlines Europe with the expansions and everything because we really enjoyed playing that game. And
yeah, it's fun.
I think that'd be a really cool introduction to both the hobby as well as fractional ownership and that whole deal. And so, yeah,
cool.
Really, really enjoyed my play of that. So, after all that, sir, your turn.
Well, let's see. We spent a lot of time with the kids last weekend, the following day from our game day, and I got to play Little Devils, Tokaido, and Flower Power. Flower Power is actually a really cool 2-player game. My kid and I like it.
That was the one you were playing when we came over a couple weeks
Probably.
ago, and Chris just tapped out. He was like, yeah, you got it.
Yeah. And Praetor, of course, and Patchwork. And Tony KR loaned me Patchwork, and then he loaned it to you. Have you played it yet?
So, tell me about Praetor. That's my answer. No.
Oh, okay.
It's been too crazy. I'm hoping we can play it Friday, though.
Cool, right on. It's pretty cool. It was interesting. I've only got the one play of it, but
Like I said, I've said in the past, the next time I hear something negative about Patchwork will be the first time.
my wife said she would buy a copy. So
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So seriously though, about Praetor.
Okay.
Like, give me in a minute or less. Give me the gist of it. I mean, obviously, I own it. I bought it. I'm interested in it. But give me your take, is what I'm saying.
Nutshell would be it's a worker placement game where you build these buildings, right, that are just tiles in the center that form a board, and that's where people place their workers. And it's a one worker per place spot, right? So there's blockage, and your workers are dice, but you don't roll the dice. They're
God
just
forbid.
No, thank you. They're just 1 through 6 is their ability, their strength. So certain things you do with a worker will increase their strength. So if I send a 2 to the gold mines, I'm coming back with 2 gold and a 3 strength worker, for example.
Oh, he's been working out in the
Absolutely,
mine,
absolutely.
Buffing up.
And so you're getting a bunch of resources and try to convert them to build the buildings or build Hadrian's Wall. When your workers hit 6, they retire. And the whole time, workers, including retired workers, cost you money every round for upkeep.
They get a pension.
It was pretty cool. It surprised me. So
Cool.
I'm anxious for you to try and see if you like it.
Rock on, man. All right. We were fortunate to get a review copy from Isaac Childress and Cephalofair Games of the 2015 release, Forge War.
Yes, and Edward, when you first asked me about reviewing Forge War, I thought you were out of your mind, man.
Yeah, I know. I texted you and I was like, "Hey, I'm gonna touch base with Isaac about this," and you were like, "Wait, what?"
What? I like the title of the game just like invokes these thoughts of and impressions of Ameritrash or American thematic games. And I just imagine like ridiculous little dwarf and goblin miniatures and rolling polyhedral dice with weird symbols on them and crap like that. But like, don't let the name fool you. This is a Euro game with a thematic name, I believe.
I'm still waiting for an apology that you would think that I would contact a publisher about a game like that for us to review on the show. Really? Come on, man.
Well, it's kind of the thing I'd let my agent handle normally, but since I don't have one, I apologize.
All right, thank you. That's all I'm saying. All right.
I will not doubt your heavy cardboardness again.
All right. Carry on, sir.
All right, Forge War is a 2 to 4 player game that has several modes of play. The basic game might take 60 to 90 minutes, player count varying, and the epic game could take maybe like 3 hours, maybe longer even. Just depends on your group, really, and what's going on. So in the game, we're going to talk about just a high level of the gameplay here. It's a resource acquisition with a resource conversion / recipe filling game that also has what I just categorize as upkeep costs at the end of every round. But the upkeeps are clever in this. It's not just, hey, feed your guys or whatever.
Feed and heat or whatever.
Exactly. In the game, you're going to acquire minerals and gems to forge fantastic weapons for your adventurers to use in increasingly demanding quests. The game is broken down into a number of phases, and each round will have the same phases. So there's the mining phase, which is almost like a mini game in itself.
It is. And from what I've heard, this is like the most divisive part of the game because it's so different than the rest of the game. But tell folks about it.
To me, it's a re-rendering and improvement, frankly, on the main mechanic of, hey, that's my fish.
That's an interesting take. I hadn't thought of that, but I'll be honest, it kind of makes sense.
In the way that you move your overseers from that beginning hex and stuff, but this adds another layer on top of that with the workers that actually do the mining. So that was very cool. And divisive, whatever, I thought that was a neat part of the game.
No, I enjoyed it.
When you move one of your overseers in the mines, they can move in a straight line. And the mine is made up of hexagons that represent the different resources that you can mine. There's copper, iron, mithril, right? Then there's rubies and diamonds and emeralds. So your miners and your overseers are doing that. Every opposing player's miner that your overseer crosses over or jumps over when he's moving is converted to one of your miners. Also, you get a miner of your own color in the hex that your overseer began on. And then each of those newly placed or converted workers, miners, is going to give you one resource of the type of the hex that person is on. But here's a cool twist. When your overseer jumps an existing miner of your own color, he switches sides and goes to the player that might have the fewest number of miners in the game. And so by virtue of your move, and it might be advantageous for you to go ahead and do that, even though that person's going to get some resource, because you're going to get more than that, potentially. Those resources are what you need to forge the weapons, so they're really, really important. Now, the next phase is the market phase, where you have one worker to choose a market action with. So choose carefully. Some of the market actions are one person only, so it's first come, first serve worker placement blockage. Some of the market actions can support as many players as want to go there.
And there are a lot of different spots in which you can go, and with only one worker, as usual in most games, there's going to be, hey, this one time, could I just place 4 workers?
Right. Paul Chad.
Right.
Let's see, the actions they include various things like buying a recipe to forge weapons. The weapons are represented on cards that cost you money to basically acquire the knowledge of how to build that weapon, because it's going to be a unique weapon that only you can build. And it also shows you what resources you need to build that weapon and what its power value is later on in the quest. Other things are just like market cards and rule breakers and bonuses, one-time bonuses, recurring bonuses, hire new adventurers, etc. After the market, everyone's going to hit the quest phase. And you can buy a quest, which is a card, for 0 to 2 gold pieces. When you buy a quest, this is where you're going to really kind of do the lion's share of your brain work here. You're going to buy a quest, and you're going to look at that quest and see how many levels, or legs they call them, this quest might have, and how much they increase in challenge. And you look at the weapons and their power and the number of adventurers you have and the level of those adventurers, because some of those really awesome weapons require a higher level worker to be able to wield them.
Which makes sense.
Absolutely. And so when you acquire a quest, at that point, you go into the management of quests, they call it, and you assign some of your adventurers and the weapons. You forge the weapons right then and there, and send them off on the quest to hopefully get you victory points and various things. During this management phase also, if you have existing quests going on, hopefully you're putting more things into those quests, more adventurers and weapons to succeed against the higher challenge each leg will give you.
Think of them almost like having to face lieutenants and bosses in video games, how a dungeon might increase in level and you finally reach the end of the dungeon, and now I got to face the boss, so it's going to require higher level, etc., etc.
And if you do complete a quest successfully, all your adventurers get to level up. I thought that was pretty thematic as well, and when that can happen. That's essentially the nutshell of the rules. The game has several modes of play, as we mentioned. There's a basic game, there's epic game. So basically you can play 7 rounds, 12 rounds, or 18 rounds, depending on just how much time you want to spend around the table. And as the game advances through the different phases, through the different rounds, it gets harder, right? The weapons get cooler, the quests get tougher, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So there's some pressure on you to keep gathering adventurers and getting money and and resources to keep up with the game's challenge.
All right, so that's kind of the overview of the game. So
right.
Now we're going to go into the things we like, things we didn't like, and then after that we'll hit on a little bit on the basic game and the epic variant.
So yeah, things
All right,
good.
So start off component quality and the rule book.
Okay.
What did you think?
I was the one that read the rule book and taught the game, and I thought the rule book was quite good. Really, it was laid out well. It was clear about what's in the epic game, what's not, and I really didn't have any problem setting it up and playing a few rounds to try to figure out what was going on.
Okay. The one time that I actually got into the rule book was while we were playing for reference-wise, and all our questions were answered in there, which is always a good sign.
Yeah. What do you feel about the component quality, Mike? There is a ton of crap in that box.
There is a lot in that box, and I'll say it's decent. I wouldn't call it excellent, but then again, to keep the price reasonable,
Right.
there had to be some kind of balance in there, I imagine. This was, I believe, originally a Kickstarter game.
Right.
So I don't know how that played into it. But to be honest with you, my biggest, I guess, critique of the components was I would have liked to have seen a thicker core on the cards themselves, because they're a little...
Yeah.
Not warp, but you know how they kind of bow a little?
Yeah, they do.
And I'm a big fan of linen finish on cards.
Sure.
So I would have liked to have seen that. But otherwise, overall, I think the component quality itself was cool. Although I got to ask, what's up with those micro cubes, man?
Dude. Yeah, I agree with you say about the component quality. I do feel that the publisher really did do an excellent job balancing the quantity and quality of the stuff in the box so that it didn't cost $1 million.
Sure.
But yeah, it could have cost another extra dollar and have slightly bigger. Those quest tracking cubes are like 3/16 tops. They
Of an
are
inch, yeah.
like Tony KR. He said they were too small to even be considered a choking hazard.
They're the smallest cubes anybody's ever seen. And they use them for the quest tracking on the card. So I understand why they did it. But,
yeah.
dude, I mean, I'm 6'2", 240. I have big hands. Those little tiny cubes? Yeah, I don't know about that. I will say, I love the Overseer / slave driver meeples and their mustaches and whips
He's got
that
like
are on there.
Who's that?
A Fu Manchu? Or,
Yeah, that's what it is. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Snidely Whiplash kind of a mustache there.
Yeah. So I got to be honest. I love the artwork on the board and the weapon cards and some of the quests.
Okay, yeah. Some of the quests look a little muddy, but whatever. There's a lot, man. They had to... I wonder what the artwork cost on that.
You're being gracious when you say muddy.
Okay.
The rest of the quest cards, other than the ones that I really like, let's just say it's not my style. I went so far as to look and see who the artist of the game was, to see if maybe Isaac did his own work to maybe save some money.
Right. Mrs. Isaac.
But sadly, that's not the case.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. The quests are definitely many and varied, though.
Absolutely, they are. Every time a quest came out, we would take a look at what the quest description was, the name of the quest, and the artwork. Because some of them were really, there were multiple artists in this, and some of them were really cool. Just, aesthetically, I'm saying. The artwork itself. Others, not so much. But it was cool to see the plethora of different things that you could send your adventurers on.
I think two things about those quests. One is that's what generates the planning that's required in the game, because it's kind of like let's see, if I get that quest, I'll need to forge this weapon, maybe better get some mithril before I need it, and I better level up an adventurer because you need, blah, blah, blah. And that generates the planning involved in the game. And the other thing was, as we mentioned when we're talking about just the generic gameplay, is that those adventurers can level up from 1 to 4 through training, through an action selection in the market phase, or through successful quests. And I just felt those two things worked well together.
As a fan of video game RPGs, games like Skyrim, Oblivion, stuff like that, or whatever, I really enjoy the idea of leveling up your dudes and stuff like that. So I appreciated that. And on that note, in the Epic variant, there's a way when they hit level 4 to give them titles. And it they're like individual rule breakers, but it's a way to individualize your, and specialize your adventurers.
I thought that was cool too.
So the initial starting resources are done via draft. And I thought it was perfect and ideal way to kick the game off. Like,
at least, I think might be just in the fast forward epic that we played that one time.
Well, no, even
you
when
can draft the other ones,
right? Even when you get the 4, you choose 2, so it's kind of an individual draft.
But in that fast forward epic, it's just a bigger draft, and that was fun.
It was exquisitely done. I thought. I think that was one of the very highest strengths of the game, was the way they handled that epic. But we'll get there in a minute.
Yeah. I didn't feel like at least I didn't, manage our money very well when we were playing
we were. I do believe that there are ways to do it, but we failed miserably because everything was almost without fail was too expensive for us to buy.
Yeah, the game seemed very austere and maybe too much. I don't know if it was us or the game or whatever, but it was kind of mocking me. It was like we were at the poverty level the whole game, and the game,
here's this awesome weapon.
Right,
look at it.
The game keeps levying these taxes and teasing us. Right, like here's this triple goblin cleaver with oh yeah, it's $11. You can't afford it.
Right.
That just wasn't fun. And in the game, you're not building an engine either. So it's not like really things are getting better. You can have some, they call them savvy cards, from the marketplace to help you along. But you're really not building an engine in this game to help you overcome the higher and higher costs of things.
I do think part of where we made a mistake was we didn't realize how austere things would be. And so I feel like we didn't focus on income generating quests early enough, as
Perhaps
well
so.
as make as good a use of the market as far as selling extra resources that we got. Although we did, because you only get one sell action unless you have one of those market stalls that allows a
Do
second
it again
one.
or something.
So there are ways to manipulate it, but man, you really got to plan that out if you are planning on investing a lot of money into the market. To go back onto that mining phase, I thought it was a cool take on resource acquisition. Instead of going to spot X and gaining Y resources or whatever, you have to actively plan for future steps on what you want and need to mine for. I thought it was a fantastic part. Some people don't like it, I guess. It's abstract, but I appreciate the fact that it's just a new, I don't know if it's new, but a different take on how to gain resources in a Euro.
It is part of not building an engine, and you can never really count on what you're going to get outside for resources outside of
Where your
a spot where
overseers
your
are,
overseer
right.
is going to be. And I did find it interesting, but maybe just more fun than interesting. And I guess overall it was the most interesting part of the game for me.
I think that and the fast forward part of the epic, I would agree with those two things.
So player interaction, a lot of people are going to be curious about that. I think except for in the mining,
That's all there is.
like when you're jumping over someone else's worker, that's about it.
Yeah, there's the cool mechanic of being able to mine twice if you were first in turn order, which then sends you to the back of the line, which means you're going to be last for the market phase and the quest phase. So you have to decide whether or not taking that risk isn't, to go last. Maybe somebody's going to snake that quest you need, or the only one that you're going to be able to do right now, et cetera, et cetera. So at least, there were some interesting aspects of it, but yeah, I think that's where the positives end, and now we go on to the other side of things.
Yeah, regarding the quest, for example, for me, I mentioned they really do drive the planning and they drive your action, but there's really very little excitement, if any, to doing that. I feel like I'm just perfunctorily placing stockpile stuff against the quest like I'm doing a math equation. And I found a quote from a BGGI casual guy that I think really kind of nailed it for me. He says, and I can't improve upon this, the quest management phase makes you feel like a mid-level human resources manager at Quest HQ. And you aren't going on the quest yourself, you're really picking the personnel and matching them and their equipment to the quest they go on.
I think that's pretty fitting, and that kind of rolls into one of my. I have three things here.
All right, shoot.
So the first is I felt that there was kind of a missed opportunity to build a connection with your adventurers. They're nameless and generic. It's impossible to craft any kind of attachment to them. We mentioned that they can get a title once they reach level 4, but even then, it's just, hey, my guy can now do this, and it's one of 4. They're just nameless, soulless tools, and I feel like there could have been some kind of connection done up there. So you were talking about outfitting them, right? Because you have to
Forge a
equip
weapon.
them. Right, forge. Hence the name Forge War.
Right.
You have to forge the weapons and then send them out on these quests. I got to be honest, I actively disliked the lack of knowing at a glance what level weapon each of my adventurers had, and not only what level, but what weapon to begin with. Having to often look over at my weapon plans and the community plans and try and remember, wait, does this one have this one or this and this?
Let's see, 3 iron and a ruby. That's
Okay, what
that
fits
weapon?
that? Right.
Yeah.
And so I felt like it was clunky at best and unenjoyable at worst to try and track that. Like there should have been just a better way to do that. And the last thing, and this is probably the biggest indictment for the game for me, is the game just didn't advance and add anything other than more of the same.
Yeah.
There was advancement only in a sense that things got harder, but they didn't change in what you were doing.
They didn't get more interesting.
Outside the difficulty and the cooler weapons, round 10's no different than round 1.
Right.
And
Or round 18 is not different.
there's just no emergent gameplay whatsoever.
Yeah, I don't know. I've kind of thought it was not exciting, a little boring.
All right, so let's talk about the base game real quick.
All right, I only have one thing to say about the basic game.
Same here. Go ahead.
It's a good teacher. After like 3 rounds, I knew what I needed to know. I didn't need to play 7.
Right, and
we did.
That's exactly what I said. I would have been happy with it being like a 2-round tutorial,
Right,
that leads straight into the epic from there.
there you go.
So it's a good tutorial, but too long as it is.
Right.
So going into the epic game, we played the fast forward epic, which you said it's 12 rounds instead of 18, right? Mm-hmm. The draft of the cards at the beginning of the fast forward epic, fantastic.
Yeah, it was well done.
Honestly, I think that if there's a way for other games to implement that, I think this is a model for a way to do it.
That was very well done.
Yeah, it took a third of the game and turned it in like that, and all of a sudden, okay, your guys are upgraded and you're ready to take on the bigger adventure.
I would play Forge War or the resource drafting game. I felt like the epic game was just a longer version of the basic game.
More of the
really.
same. Too long and just rinse and repeat, right?
Just didn't strike a chord with me at all.
And
In spite of, I can see and appreciate some of the cool features of it. Just the execution did not work with me.
I think everybody that played that would agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
Paul, Chad, Amanda, there were some cool things there, but it just didn't all come together for any of us.
So, summary?
All right. So I appreciate the effort to blend Euro mechanics with a Ameritrash theme into kind of a Eurotrash game, and I mean that in a good way. But I really feel like it ended up being an opportunity lost on what could have been a really cool thematic game that brings both sides of the hobby together. There are definitely some interesting aspects, but in the end, it just fell flat for me. You?
Well, as a longtime fantasy role player back in the high school years and a little bit beyond, I really, really wanted this game to be a winner for me personally. And as I was reading the rules, I was like, man, do I have this holy grail in my hand here? This planning heavy, luckless Euro economic dungeon adventure? And as with so many games, actual gameplay can and does differ on the table from what it seems like in your head, while you're reading the rules. And this game did that for me. It was not that holy grail I was hoping it would be from the rules. Now this game is going to be definitely considered heavy for a lot of people, I believe, because of the increasing demand of the quests and the planning needed to keep them going, and the austerity of the game in providing both resources and actions. It will be heavy for some folks. It wasn't really heavy for us, and the things just didn't come together enough in an interesting enough manner. And the game kind of feels like a tweener. It wants to look and act like a Euro game and taste like a thematic game, perhaps. And I think that's definitely hard to pull off successfully. And this game's a valiant attempt at that. And I'm sure there's an audience for this game. It didn't win a place in my collection. Undoubtedly a labor of love. And artists know that works are perceived differently by the masses. And I heartily applaud Isaac in his efforts and thank him for the opportunity to play his game.
Yeah, and definitely. We appreciate it. But in the end, it just not every game is going to fit every player.
That's
so
true.
There you are.
Do you have a rating on our 1 to 6 scale?
Yeah, I think we played it enough to where I feel comfortable. I'm going to give it a 3 on a 1 to 6. So to give context to that, it's a little bit below average. Mm-hmm. It has some cool stuff and some things we enjoyed, but in the end, not for us.
Right on. Concur. A 3 as well. That's Forge War. You know, I would really enjoy a TV show named Chainmail Bikini Warrior. And if you play the networks, there is such a TV show. Is that not right?
There absolutely is. So we're going to talk the networks. Designed by Gil Hova of Formal Ferret Games. It's supposed to be published in 2016. It's currently on Kickstarter. It started yesterday. They're already halfway to their $25,000 funding goal, and there's still almost a full month to go. The cost, it's $35 during the Kickstarter.
That's really good.
I think so. It plays 1 to 5, plays in 45 to say 75 minutes, depending on player count and experience. So Gil reached out to us and asked us if we would be interested, and we said sure, we'll give it a look. And I'll be honest, it was a pleasant surprise. Mm-hmm. So what's happening in the networks? The networks is a card game where the players are TV network executives that have to develop shows of different genres, hire stars for those shows, and finally acquire advertising to further help round out your show lineup. Based on those shows, actors, and commercials, players will get various amounts of viewers, which count as victory points, as well as money to help pay for everything. On top of that, you have to make sure that you have to hire the right actors for the shows that you plan on acquiring, or at least hope to acquire, right, as well as place the shows in their ideal time slot to maximize viewership. Whomever is the best at juggling all those things and does the best job as a network executive after 5 seasons will win the game. So what's cool about the game? First off, it's a fun theme and it's really well implemented. We had a near final prototype, so not all the graphics were there, but the components were really solid. I thought the rules were quite clear, even if they weren't in their final form. And the player aids on the player boards were useful and easy to use. So kind of going with that fun theme, game has a lot of laughs.
Lots of laughs.
Gil obviously had fun with the show names. Some of my personal favorites.
Okay, fire.
Since folks know I'm a big fan of cooking and such. Cooking for your gerbil.
Nice. I used to have a gerbil.
Grilling with milk. Those are great, but also don't forget Let's Pickle.
Let's Pickle. I had that one.
And finally, the biannual County Bubble Wrap Popping Tournament.
Nice.
Good stuff.
Well, as mentioned, I like Chainmail Bikini Warrior.
Well, who doesn't? At least the first season was good.
First season was good. I liked Get to Know Your Colon. Monday Night Foosball. But, the actor names are pretty cool, too. Like, they don't really put a name on them. They just summarize the actor. So,
kind of like a broad generalization.
Like Always Dies in Everything or Seductive Foreign Star. So, we chuckled a lot when we were playing.
We did. So I thought it had pretty quick, pretty smooth gameplay. You could tell that there was an emphasis on playtesting on this because everything just flowed and hummed along. Very little downtime.
Yeah. I agree with that. One of the things I really thought was neat about the mechanics of the game are the time slot things that you mentioned. You have an 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and 10 o'clock time slots to fill. And you can put any show in any time slot, but certain shows are better at certain time slots. And that affects the viewership you're going to get. And I just thought that was a pretty neat little mechanic. It kind of folds into the way, and you alluded to it when you're talking about the rules, like putting the right actors on the right shows. Some actors are better on sports shows than they are on
reality TV, right, and all that. I like how shows degrade over time.
Yeah.
Like they may get an initial strong showing, and it's possible that even in season 2, they get even better.
A little bump.
Right, but after that, they start tapering off, and viewership decreases, and so it causes you to have to always be on the lookout for, the latest, greatest shows for those respective time slots, because you're always trying and match up the show with the time slot.
Yeah, and the viewership that results, that's the scoring. And so, looking at the genre, the lifespan of the show, the cost of acquiring and developing the show, as well as the requirements that might be appropriate for an actor and or an advertisement, those things are all important factors in the viewership and the time slot. And again, the cards just work nicely together.
They do. So speaking of the cards, there's lots going on even in the base game. Like our first play, played just the base game, and we didn't even touch on the advanced cards.
Right.
So, I mean, it's going to be good, given it's a light, medium weight for the game. So it's going to be kind of a good mix between good for those new to the hobby, but also an enjoyable romp for experienced gamers with the advanced cards.
Sure, and there's also some interactive play cards if you want to add a little, take that action. Hey, I'm going to steal that actor.
Exactly. I actually had a light dusting of Screwage when it comes...
Light dusting.
When it comes to turn order and the priority of acquiring shows and the actors and all that. I dig that passing... When you pass, and you can do it at any point, I forget the actual phrase for the end of the term.
Drop and something. Drop in budget?
Is something like that. So what it is if you're the first one to pass, the good news is you're going to get a larger budget for the following season. So that's great. However, you're limiting the actions that you took this round because maybe you didn't do as much as you could. You just wanted to make sure that you passed because you were desperate for money. But also, the other players can continue taking actions as long as they have the money and wherewithal to do so. So you don't want to pass too early and give one or two players all those free network cards, all the rule breakers, and end-game scoring bonuses and all that stuff. So it's kind of a fine line you have to juggle between when do I pass? I really need that money. Wait, I don't think anyone else is going to. Maybe I can, stall one more round and take one more action and then pass, and hopefully it doesn't come back and bite me in the tush.
I do like that there's a little economy to build with your TV company. Developing shows, hiring actors, winning the advertisements, that all costs money. And you need to keep a little positive cash flow going, or you're going to have to basically sit on worn-out shows that are dropping in viewership, and it's just not going to score you as many points as the other players are.
Because some of those actors have a retainer cost with them.
Yeah, and you got to pay your bills.
Right.
So there's the little economy I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah. For the weight of the game,
right?
I got to be honest. There's more meat here than I expected, and that's a good thing. There's a healthy amount of meaningful decisions in the game.
Okay, sure. I mean, I didn't expect it to be Arkwright.
Sure. No, obviously. But there's more to it than I thought. I thought it'd be a little fluffier, I guess, than it is.
I would say really, I was definitely pleasantly surprised by the game. I figured it would be a much lighter game than it actually was.
That's all I'm saying, right. So I got three little things here, niggly things here. The first is there were a couple of small rules ambiguities, but I expect those will get clarified in the final rule book. But on that note, even so, it seemed intuitive. Like, oh, wait, this makes sense. We'll play it this way. So I'm sure that'll all get hammered out. For the most part, multiplayer solitaire. So I understand why this game could scale well from 1 to 5 for the simple fact that you're pretty much just focused on you. You are able to look around the board and maybe you pass a little bit earlier to try and steal a show from somebody, something like that. But outside of that, not a ton of interaction, I don't think.
No, true.
And the last thing is the artwork totally fits the theme, and I enjoy it, but it might not be to everybody's liking.
What we've seen of the artwork.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, looking at the Kickstarter page when I was doing my prep and stuff, I was like, okay, yeah.
So there was questions from the guild about the networks that we don't feel we addressed directly just now while we're talking about the game. So question number 1 was, does the networks bring something new to the table, and what is it?
I said no, not really, but unlike some other games that we've reviewed, it flows well and it just kind of feels good. It feels right. It's an enjoyable game when you're looking for something lighter than our normal fare.
Yeah. I said, does it have to? I mean, it's fun to play, and not every game has to innovate something.
I think that's fair.
How will the networks play with 2? Do you feel there's replayability, multiple paths, etc.? Or will it get samey?
Well, from everything I've read, it plays great, both solo and 2-player, which, like I said, with that multiplayer solitaire, that makes total sense.
Rahdo's got a video now, so you can check out that for 2-player.
Okay. And I do feel that there's enough variety with the advanced cards that you're going to get your money's worth of plays out of the $35 price tag for it. I think it's totally fair pricing for what you get with the game and the amount of plays the game will provide. At least that's my take on it.
Cool.
So as far as summary,
yes, sir.
You're doing this so much better than I am lately. I'm going to go first.
Okay.
So the networks may have a veneer of a fun, lighthearted game with little substance, but you'd be missing out on what ends up being a very solid, entertaining engine-building game. The game skews light for us, and frankly for our listeners, but that doesn't make it less of a game. If you're looking for some lighter fun with a backbone and fantastic dad puns, you can feel good about spending an hour of your table time with it.
Right on. Let's see, my summary would be that the networks creates an environment that's simultaneously silly and businesslike. The names of the TV shows, the actors, the commercials provide many creativity acknowledging chuckles and bad pun inspired groans.
Wonderful puns, thank you.
Totally. However, there is some serious business taking place as you manage your little TV network. You have to maintain your company's economy, create a profitable business that's attracting recurring viewership in the theme of the game. With the shows that you develop, maintain, and eventually cancel as their popularity wanes, you need to keep that cycling. I think Gil's game is smart, well-designed, and it sneaks in a challenging game under the cover of humor. Big thanks to Gil for the opportunity to play his game.
Rock on.
Rating on our 1 to 6 scale, I think that, like you mentioned, the game is probably light and lighthearted for a lot of heavy cardboarders. But I do think it's worth considering, like maybe when a casual group wants to take it up a notch.
Yeah, and, I think that's a pretty good take.
And for that reason and the funness of the gameplay and everything, I put a 4 on it.
I did as well. I think it's enjoyable, and it's something that I'm going to consider backing. I'm not going to say that flat out I'm going to get a copy for sure, but I'm going to give it a legitimate, thought on whether or not I'm going to.
Right on.
So yeah, that's the networks. Time to take a look at the 2009 Winsome release by Eddie Robbins, John Bohr, Baltimore and Ohio.
Right on. Baltimore and Ohio, yes, a 2009 Winsome release, reprinted by Eagle Griffin Games in 2010, is a 3 to 6 player game where the box says 120 plus minutes, and it is definitely true about the plus.
Absolutely it is.
The game will be plus. What's happening in this game is it's really a lot like an 18XX game in that you are founding and capitalizing railroad companies that create a network of tracks and operate trains for revenues. The players, as investors, operate those companies in accordance with who owns the most stock in a given corporation. The president. The president makes all of the decisions for the company, where to lay track, when to buy trains, when to pay dividends to shareholders, etc. The game is going to run from tech level 1 to tech level 6, and this tech level represents the efficiency of the trains that are available, as well as how much track can be laid by the company, and some other things too, about how many railroads can occupy a city or service a city and things like that. This also abstractly measures the passage of the decades as the game progresses. The game is segmented into 1 stock round and 2 operating rounds. Oh, they call them market rounds and business rounds, but they're really ORs and SRs.
And stock rounds, right, yeah.
So in a stock round, players are going to buy and sell stock and found new companies. And the ownership of a company could change during this time as well. In the operating rounds, companies are going to build track, buy trains, run trains, sell trains, And the revenue is either going to be held in the company to build future tracks and buy trains, etc., or going to be paid out to the shareholders in accordance with their ownership percentage. Often, holding the revenue will depress your stock value, while paying the revenues will cause your stock value to increase. And one of the neat things about that mechanism is a lot of times that up or down price in your stock value is dependent upon whether or not your company made more net revenue in this operating round than the previous.
Which is unique. I haven't encountered. I think that's a winsome thing.
Must be.
Because I haven't encountered that in an 18XX up to this point.
So using cubes as track, the companies connect various cities to their network, and the cities are worth a varying amount of income to the company, and this income can fluctuate as the decades or tech level rolls by, and it's natural that some cities are going to decrease in importance as well as others will increase.
Which is historically accurate.
Absolutely. At the end of the game, your cash on hand and the value of your investment portfolio is your score. The wealthiest player is the winner. B&O in a nutshell. Let's talk about some of the things we enjoy about B&O. Number one for me is what we just talked about, like part of the mechanic that determines if your company's stock price is going to go up or down depends not just on whether or not you're paying dividends or withholding, but also that your company made more net revenue this round than last round. I really think that's fantastic, and I'd love to see if are there any 18XX games that have that mechanic in them.
And if not, I wonder if it's a viable thing.
Maybe, because that earning pressure is a real force in this game, I think.
Absolutely. To piggyback on that and kind of to go hand in hand with that is trains don't rust, but they do become a drag on your company and can end up costing you more than they actually make in income.
That's their pressure.
And so you can sell them, but the question is, do I sell them, or are they more viable to me in the company or out of the company? And that's where that whole net profit is going to come in, is am I making more with this train or not? If I'm not, then it's time to, they don't rust, but time to, sell them for parts nonetheless.
Yeah, and as the technology level increases, the maintenance goes up and up and up. And also, as the technology level increases, even though the trains of the next level cost more than the trains of the previous level, each train within a level costs a little bit less than the one before it. So if the first train was $200, the next train might be $190 and then $185. Right? There's little increments and downward increments in the price of the trains. I think that's kind of reflective of how things get incrementally less expensive as technology, moves on and becomes adopted.
Well, think about, I'm trying to build my own computer, and as hardware, it gets older, it becomes cheaper. That makes sense. On that note, in a lot of 18XX games, the last non-permanent train's kind of called the poison pill, and this eliminates that in a sense that it incentivizes players to constantly be looking to improve their technology and not fear the last train of a certain level,
right?
Because it's so much cheaper than the first train was, etc.
And that's also a tool to push the game and cause some maintenance costs to rise, i.e. rot the trains, not rust the trains,
right,
on your opponents by, okay, it's a little less to buy this one, I'm going to buy it, and then maybe I can buy the next one as well and put some pressure on my opponents.
There's asymmetric companies, and the main thing is the number of cubes or the number of track tiles, or their cubes,
right,
to lay out there. And
certain companies are only going to be so big.
Right. And there's one that I think has 5 cubes.
Yeah.
And that's it. And some have, upwards of 18, 20, whatever.
Right.
So I dig asymmetry.
Yeah.
And this has it in spades.
Even those little ones could be good earners. This game has capitalism in it. There's no cert limits or ownership limits.
No communism.
No communism here. If you can earn all 10 shares of something, great. Might not be the best thing, though.
Might not.
But that's my decision to make.
Because there's no incentive to anybody else help you build that.
Sure, don't let me get it all.
Right.
I think that this is potentially a fantastic 18XX training game for a game that isn't an 18XX game. It does have the track laying and the tokening abstracted. So that takes a lot of nitty-gritty out of what you're trying to teach newbies.
Takes a lot of the fiddliness, kind of. Yeah.
It's got all of the stock ownership stuff of basic 18xx games. It's got some sensible stock market mechanics that someone can grasp, and that's a great gateway into the stock market mechanics of other games that may be crazier or cooler. It's got a training level train rush. Frankly, the rules are simple, and it provides I feel anyway, a deep learning environment that's not just a kiddie pool.
I'll buy that. I didn't have it as eloquent as you did, but that was my last point on the positives.
Okay.
As far as
what don't you enjoy?
Well, I will say one thing that, at least for me personally, and I think pretty much all of us felt this way about it, is for those who enjoy 18xx games, for what this game provides, I'd rather just play an 18xx game.
Agreed.
If the game played in, say, half the time that it does, then it would fill a niche. But as it is, I'd rather just play an 18xx game.
Yeah.
But that's coming from 18xx game players as opposed to coming at it from the other direction, which if you haven't played one, in that case, then yeah, I think this would be... then it's not a negative. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think the length can go a little long for being so close to an 18xx without being an 18xx, and that 18xxers may just want to play an 18xx game.
Right.
But I do think the length, because it's long, can contribute to the learning, the patience testing of people that think they're interested in 18xx games.
Yeah, it like you said, it has a lot of the aspects of an 18xx. They're present without a lot of the fiddliness. So some questions from the guild that haven't been touched on yet.
Yes, sir.
That our guild members have asked. So here we go. If you hadn't played an 18xx, would you feel differently about Baltimore and Ohio?
I think I would.
I said absolutely. Understand that when I say it plays too long, that's only with our background of 18xx games. If you look at it in a vacuum, it's perfectly acceptable in what it provides within the playtime, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I would just rather play 8 hours of 18xx than 4 hours of B&O.
Or 4 hours of 18xx instead of 4 hours of B&O.
Sure.
So,
how long are the plays of B&O, and have you guys tried the expansions?
45 minutes a player, give or take a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And
I agree with that.
And no, I have not played any of the expansions.
I have the expansions. I have not played with them.
Okay. If you were going to rank something like 18xx, B&O, Steam, Winsome Games, where would B&O fall?
I would go 18xx, various Winsome Games, B&O. I'd leave Steam off the list, and I'd probably put Age of Steam in there somewhere, probably in with those Winsomes. It's Winsome.
Right. I'm pretty much the exact same. I'd say 18xx, then probably some of the Winsomes, and Age of Steam.
Right, some of the Winsomes.
And then the rest of the Winsome, and then B&O probably at the back of the line.
Yeah.
But again, that's coming from our background of having played numerous 18xx games now. It would be higher on our list if we hadn't.
Right.
I think that's coming through.
As self-proclaimed auction fans, how does B&O stack up against Winsome games that you've played that have auctions?
Probably middle of the pack at best. Irish Gauge, Southern Rails, Trans-Siberian, all would be higher on my list, as well as the actual 18xx games like 1879. All those would be higher than B&O, although the one thing that I really, really, really like about B&O is something that we've already touched on, which is the way the main driving force to increase the value of your stock is by not only paying out dividends, but increasing the net gain every operating round, or in order to be able to increase your revenues.
I said that I don't think B&O has to stack up against auction games because it's not an auction game. It's a stock, it's not an auction game. It's a totally different game. So I don't get the auction game thing there. But in my twisted idea of the pantheon of Winsome games that I've played, I like those auction games more than I like B&O, right? Like you mentioned them, Irish Gauge, KP, etc.
Right.
So.
Kansas Pacific. I forgot about
Yeah.
that. Not Southern Rails,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Kansas Pacific, right.
So, summary and rating for B&O, you or me?
Oh, you're going to want to go first on this one. You don't want to follow me.
Oh, my. All right. B&O, I think, is about as close to playing an 18XX game you're going to get without playing an 18XX game.
Maybe I should have gone first.
It's got the strong flavor of the depth and the current of 18XX titles without some of the details that many noobs might consider fiddly about 18XX games. And it provides a thoughtful experience that, in my opinion, is chock full of surges and lulls in the pace of the game as the players struggle to increase company revenues, improve their stock prices, keep their companies capitalized, and keep up with the train push or push them yourself, and invest in the right mix of stocks to win the game. Although I'd rather play a full-fledged 18XX game than I would B&O, this game still has a place in my collection as a serious teaching instrument for those that feel they want to explore the 18XX space. My rating's a 4. I think it's a very, very good and challenging game whose majority value for me is a teaching instrument. I would give it a 5 if I wasn't an 18XX junkie.
Okay, cool.
You, sir.
For this not being an 18XX game, this is as close as I've played to one without it being one. B&O, while it's its own animal with the way the value of companies increase among other things, shares enough similarities to 18XX to be used as an enjoyable, interesting teaching tool for those looking to get into 18XX games. That's not to say that it doesn't stand on its own. It does. However, if you've already sampled the wares that the 18XX Mistress offers, you very well may find yourself having wished you'd just gone ahead and gone down that street instead.
Wow. Mistress.
I have it as a 4. I recommend it. However, I would probably rate it a 3 if you're an 18XX veteran.
Interesting. Let me ask you this. Let me throw a random question at you.
Okay.
I have not played Poseidon. Poseidon is often couched as a 18XX training game. Poseidon or B&O?
B&O. But keep in mind, I really disliked Poseidon. I really did not enjoy it because I was told this is an 18XX game.
Right.
And so I went into it thinking that, and I'm sure it's a fine game if you had a different mindset than I had with it.
Gotcha.
But personally, this has a lot more of the feel of an 18XX as well as the terminology.
Right.
Than Poseidon. So if I were to recommend one or the other specifically, if I had to choose one of those two, it'd be B&O far and away.
Cool. That's Baltimore and Ohio. All right, so we had a few stray guild questions that didn't really pertain to the games we were talking about tonight.
Herding cats and all that.
So we want to cover those on the way out of tonight's episode. So let me ask you first, sir.
All right.
Which publisher should we keep an eye on?
And by publisher, you mean plural. So here we go.
I mean publishers.
There are the obvious...
Wait a minute. The author said publisher.
I think it was misprinted.
I don't think so.
There are obvious...
I think it means singular.
Hush, will you let me answer? There are obvious ones. Splatter, GMT, Spielworks. But then there's What's Your Game and Mercury Games. Both have a solid track record and seem to be doing really good things. When any of the above mentioned companies release a game, I'm at least going to take a look into it.
Sure.
So for me, the non-obvious would be maybe What's Your Game and Mercury Games.
All of them, I said. I'm publisher agnostic, as I've said before. It's the game, not the publisher, is what I'm interested in keeping an eye on or whatever.
See, and I think there are certain publishers that I just 100% discount, no matter what, out of hand. Like I have no interest.
Days of Wonder, right? Sure.
So that's all he's asking.
But I agree.
Okay.
I'm just saying. I'm publisher agnostic.
Okay, fair enough.
What do you think is vital for board game storage, and which game annoys you the most to store?
This was a fun question. So, vital for board game storage. I'll answer this one first. You answer the other one first.
Okay.
2 things. Space and great shelves. When we bought our house, we turned our formal dining room into our game library. I mean, who uses formal dining rooms anymore? Anyway, we replaced the chandelier with 5 can lights and 4 LED spotlights, and it's wonderful in here. And as far as shelves, we have a full wall and a half wall of IKEA Expedits, and they're awesome.
Yep.
I think that's what you use as well, right?
Yes, it is.
They've since been replaced at IKEA from Expedit to Calyx, but they're essentially the same thing. From what I've heard, they're equally good, and I cannot recommend them enough for board game storage.
Definitely shelving is what I wrote down as well.
Okay, cool. So, for the second part, which game annoys you the most to store?
Well, Amerigo by Stefan Feld, because it's big. It sticks out of the
huge.
shelf.
Right.
And it's really not good enough of a game to keep around, but my wife insists on making me keep it because she likes it.
Do you also have Shogun, or what's the other?
Yeah, Shogun.
Okay.
And Wallenstein.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, and I have Shogun, and it's big, but that's not a pain in the butt to store because it's fun. Amerigo is pain in the butt to store and not fun.
Right. I enjoyed it the first time I played it, and then diminishing returns. I enjoyed it less the second, and after the third, I'm like, yeah, I'm all set. Thanks.
Agreed.
As far as me, I came into the game library and looked around in here. At first, I looked at the splatter games, and I'm like, nah, they're splatters. They're fine, even though they stick out of the shelf. However, I have one Civ game that sticks out, unlike all the others. Mare Nostrum.
Yeah.
It just...
Like
it hits the wall and it still sticks out
like an inch
2
too
inches.
much,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it just annoys the hell out of me. One other that I at least mentioned, even though I don't store it on the shelf, the Theta games.
Oh, Lord, yeah.
Saturn and Fire. These are obnoxiously large square boxes that won't fit anywhere. Even if I put it with the coffin boxes, they stick out too far.
Yeah.
First world problems, and before you ask, no, I'm not willing to get rid of them to get rid of the problem. I'll deal with it, I promise.
right on.
So, next question. Love the podcast. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Yep, thank you.
You all thinking of a winter invitational so we can ski all day and game all night? I said thanks. And HeavyCon once a year is good enough. We're all set. Maybe post-retirement. We'll talk then. How's that?
Right on. I don't like to ski. My knees don't like to ski.
I enjoy snowboarding. I don't ski, but I enjoy snowboarding.
I'll just stay in the lodge and drink.
Right.
And then game.
Rock on.
Or
Sounds
both.
good. So there were a number of other Triumph and Tragedy questions that we're going to postpone until next episode.
Some good ones, too.
There were. Except there was one specific one pertaining to Triumph and Tragedy from German Mike.
Yes.
He says, what day will we play this at BGG-Con? And I said, I'm unsure which day, but I assure you we will play this there.
Right on. Okay, good sir. On the way out of here, why don't you remind people how to contact Heavy Cardboard, please?
Hit us up on Twitter. We love hearing from you guys at Heavy Cardboard. Or email us. That works too. contact@heavycardboard.com. Our website, heavycardboard.com. Facebook, Heavy Cardboard. Last but not least, BGG Guild number 2044. Come join us. We have almost 400 people. We'd love to have about...
400 more.
Sure, we'll go with that.
4,000 more.
Right, that'd be better. There you go.
The cool thing is, the conversation is 90% started, at least 90% started by membership, not by us.
Yeah, which is nice, because
it's awesome.
it wasn't like that at the beginning, but now it is. So, and I assure you, we read everything that's posted in there, even if we don't always comment on it.
Yeah, I don't always feel a need to comment back on comments from the episode, because, I mean, you know,
We've covered it. Unless people have other questions,
right,
sure,
right,
yeah.
It's
but we're
my
active
opinion,
in there
your
as well.
opinion, it's awesome. So the sponsorship of Heavy Cardboard is once again by Game Surplus. We encourage you guys to check out their website at www.gamesurplus.com. Drop Velma an email, games@gamesurplus.com. Tell them Heavy Cardboard sent you. They can definitely find games for you if there's something that's not in their inventory, and they have an amazing inventory as well, and they're fantastic folks.
So next episode, we will catch you all either with Triumph and Tragedy or Argent the Consortium.
All of the above.
I'm hoping it's Triumph and Tragedy and then Argent the next time, because that means Tony enjoyed it and we get to play it lots. So
Right on.
yay. All right, we'll catch you all in a couple weeks.
See ya.
Happy football season.